What's going on, everybody? Alex with you here again as usual. Thank you for dropping by for yet another chess video. Honestly, it's always great to see you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button at some point, okay? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the DGT Pi Chess Computer, the product to which I've actually alluded to a couple of weeks back when I was doing a review video of the DGT electronic USB board that you see before me. And I decided to go ahead and review this. Now, this particular DGT Pi Chess Computer has been in my possession for probably almost 2 years. At some point, I ended up getting a gift card for my birthday to Amazon, and I didn't really know what to do with the $200 gift card, but I wanted to get some kind of a chess product, and it was at that time when I saw this was on clearance for approximately $250 or so. So even though at the time I didn't really have a DGT e-board, I figured at some point I'm gonna acquire one, so I figured at the time it was going to be a good investment. It wasn't until now that I was able to test this out and really kind of get a better idea of what this particular DGT Pi Chess Computer is all about. So, before we get started, some of my audience, of course, might look at this and look at me and say, Alex, why are we reviewing a product that's almost 6 years old at this point? And that is actually true, because the DGT Pi Chess Computer has been around probably from at least 2017, and probably it was preceded by other chess clock computers. However, I'm sure since this product is still being sold today, there's still going to be some people out there viewing the websites and looking at this and saying, at a retail price for about $330, I think is how much it sells for, might look around, read the description and say, I can see they're giving me some of the details here, what can it do and what kind of connections it has and what kind of buttons it has, but I'm not really getting a really good, thorough impression of what this is about. And therefore lies the purpose of my channel in general, or at least what I strive to achieve, is I strive to give you guys more thorough reviews of these products, so that at some point you might say, hey, when I go to Alsa Chess, I get a more thorough understanding of what these products are about, so that it becomes more helpful for me in order for me to make a decision whether this product might be something worthwhile my time and money, whether this might be something for me or for somebody else, or maybe if it's something that I really don't necessarily want to consider. So therefore, we're going to go ahead and take a look today at the DGT Pi Chess Computer, and I'm really excited to tell you guys all that I've learned about it and all the different functionalities that are important for playing chess. Okay, to start things off, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the DGT Pi Chess Computer is actually kind of a fusion of two different things. It's a fusion of the DGT 3000 chess clock. That retails for approximately $80 to $100. In fact, when you purchase this product, you get two manuals. One of the manuals is going to be for the DGT 3000 chess clock. And if you see on the picture here, I'm not sure if it's clear enough, it actually shows you the DGT 3000, which looks very much so familiar to the shape of the DGT Pi, however, without that bottom portion here. So all of the functionality and all the capabilities of the DGT 3000 are embedded completely, like identical to the DGT 3000. In fact, on the side here it says DGT 3000. So if you're used to having a DGT 3000 chess clock, or if you've used it before, you would be very familiar here with the functionality as far as what the clock is capable of doing. As far as the chess clock goes, this can be used as a regular chess clock, meaning you can bring this to any type of tournaments. You don't really need a DGT board. You can just bring it here. There's a lot of regulations that are embedded in the back here that you can see. So if you're going to a particular tournament that requires certain time controls, you can just quickly find that particular option, click it. I've seen this done quite often at tournaments, or you can even create a saved custom mode. So if a particular tournament or a particular game requires some other time controls, you can always set those and memorize them, so that way when you come there you can just click on that. In addition to those capabilities, it actually has other different advanced features. For example, usually a chess clock runs down, but you can set it to where it'll actually go up from 0 up. For different other purposes, there's also the ability to use this clock to play Scrabble. Scrabble, yeah, I used to play Scrabble a lot casually in my family. I've never even thought of the notion of using a clock, but I guess in tournament situations, yeah, you can use a clock. So it's also used for a game called Bio, Japanese bio, it's kind of like Go. I'm not really familiar with that. If you guys are, please let me know in the comments below if this is a good clock for that game. There's a Canadian bio and BYO and a Japanese. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've played that game, whether this clock is good for it or whether it prefers like a specific clock for that particular game. But today we'll be focusing more on capabilities of as far as what it's capable of doing in the chess environment, okay? So the physical characteristics of the actual DGT 3000 chess computer, you have all the settings buttons over here. The white toggle here on top is actually quite nice. The pressability is just right. The balance between it being too hard and not hard enough is just perfect to where you don't really worry about these individual things, leaves falling down on their own due to their weight or anything. So there is a little bit of resistance, and when you click it, it doesn't make too much of a noise, because I know they like the Excalibur clock, when you click it, it makes a little bit more noise. But in this particular case, it's a little bit muffled, so that's really nice, because when you're in a tournament-like setting and you're making a lot of noise, it might not be preferable. But here, I feel like the balance has been achieved really nicely. I've seen clocks that the buttons are laid out differently, and some of them actually, when you press, they kind of have a little bit more of a subtle, and they'll like beep or something. I don't necessarily like those. I like the physical feature of actually being able to press down a button like this. I also like the interface here is really nice and large lettering and numbers here. Although I'm not against analog clocks, I like to be able to see in chess tournaments the digital versions, because it's a lot easier for me to be able to see how many minutes I got left, how many seconds, because that's important to me, and I don't want to have to guess, to how many, you know, when you play the analog ones, to me it's just, I guess I haven't played enough analog clocks. So as far as the clock goes, I'm really pleased with the clock features of it. I think it is made really well, high quality. It's going to last you many games. On the back side here, there is a little compartment that you have to unscrew with a screwdriver that will allow you to put in batteries in here. So if you want to take this clock and just use it as a regular clock, you're more than welcome to. Now, if you are only going to be using this as a regular like tournament clock, it probably wouldn't make sense for you to invest entirely into the DGT Pi chess system. You would probably be okay with just purchasing the DGT 3000 chess clock. But like I said, as far as the clock goes, it's a really nice clock. Alrighty, so let me just go ahead and show you guys a little bit up close the characteristics of the clock itself. The toggles here on the very top, the front interface, the adjustment buttons here in the front. The side here has another headphone jack extension. Side right over here has the 3 ports. And the underside, right over here, as you guys can see, the underside shows us the graph of the default times that we can basically select from when we turn on the DGT 3000 clock. So that's relatively easy to use. Underneath here is where we have the micro SD card. Right over here, if you open this up, there's a place for batteries. And then right over here inside of this little compartment right here is kind of a tucked in. I don't know why they made it this way, but tucked in is the on button. If you turn this on as a clock, let me guys show you. Here we go. The very first thing that you can do is basically select anywhere between, as you guys can see, plus minus. So as soon as we turn this on, what it'll do is we can select, for example, this is 1. 1 is a 5-minute game, and if we want to go ahead and follow that, then all we have to do is press this button right here to say enter, and then press this, and we are going to go ahead and start. If we turn this off, and now we're just looking at the clock itself, turn it back on, it by default takes us back to the same selection that we did previously, which means that, so for example, if we did selection 4 here and we press enter and then we press play, then if we were to turn it off and turn it back on, we'd still be at 4. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Basically what we have here on the back, as you guys have seen, is this whole graph right here. Hopefully you guys will be able to see relatively clearly that we have different indicators. There's the 5-minute, like 10-minute, and then we have all kinds of different intervals and increments to go by, and it goes all the way from 1 to 25, I believe. 24 and 25 is some kind of an internet interface,
And then we have all these custom ones that we can select by ourselves. So when you select the custom ones, the way that it works is like this. So every time that you want to select, usually it's just easier to turn it off and turn it back on. And then past that point, what you do is you go to, let's say I want to select number 27, okay? And what you do is you click enter, and right up here, might be a little hard to see, but right up here it gives you all the different indicators, starting from time to Fisher bonus, delay, US delay. It's kind of a little bit tricky for me to see, but you have all these extra indicators that basically you go through one at a time and set whatever intervals you want or whatever parameters. And then you save it, and once you save it, you should be able to have it in the memory here, so that next time you turn the clock on, you can just immediately go to that setting, and you'll be able to play with those particular intervals. So like I said, as far as the actual clock interface and everything's pretty easy to use. For example, if we went ahead and let's say we used this 7, so all we have to do is click this enter, and then yeah, I think we're at 7. But if you just went like and chose this one and then clicked off, well, it'll get you back to that one until you click enter. If you click enter here, then you want to start the game, you just press the center one and it'll start going. So then basically this one I think is like a 3-minute with additional increments. See? Yeah. There we go. So that's kind of cool. Really easy to use. As you can see, the numbers and everything's really quite nice and stands out really well. Easy to see, overall clear.
Now, having briefly discussed the clock functionality of this DGT Pi Chess computer, we're going to go ahead and proceed by talking a little bit about the functionality of the DGT Pi, the actual computer part, okay? What can you do with this? Mainly, this particular DGT Pi Chess computer from the get-go is used to connect to your DGT e-board. It can also be connected to a DGT Bluetooth board, since it does have an internal Bluetooth. So if you have one of those more expensive boards, you can freely use this as well. And basically what it does is it turns your DGT e-board into essentially, you know, a very challenging chess opponent, okay? So without having the need to connect this board somewhere to like Fritz or anything, you can just basically have an offline game against an AI, okay? So that's basically the gist. Now, in the instruction manual, it does indicate that this can also be plugged in online, although the software was still being developed. However, I'm going to tell you that there's a little section right over here where there hides in here a little micro SD card, and if you open this little compartment here, you can actually do firmware update on this particular clock, and I'm sure that if I were to do that, I might get a lot more features on this. So although I'm not planning to do that at this time, I know that I have that option of doing so. On the side here, we see that we have 4 USB ports that are used to connect this particular DGT Pi Chess computer to other DGT Pi Chess computers and other DGT Pi boards in a tournament-like setting. If you want to create like an aero-locked network of boards that are all feeding into like one computer or something, that's something that you can do with this particular arrangement, and I think that's really cool. I'm not going to be discussing all of those options just because I don't have more of these boards or more of these computers, but I think that's, like I said, that's pretty awesome. If you're running some kind of a tournament, you can connect all these together and then have like one big hub computer analyzing games and whatnot, okay? In addition to the 4 USB ports over here, you have an Ethernet port here, so that we know allows you to connect this online, so that's kind of cool. On the back here, we have 3 different connectors, one of which is a micro USB port. Now, the micro USB port is necessary for you to plug this in order for it to function as a DGT Pi Chess computer. Otherwise, it's only going to be functioning as a DGT 3000 clock. I wasn't aware of that, but then once I started reading the instructions, I kind of got my head wrapped around it. Yes, you have to plug it into a wall or some kind of a power source in order for this to work as the computer. And what happens is once you plug it into the wall and once you plug it in with all the necessary wires to your DGT e-board, then you turn it on, and it'll take like 5 seconds or so, and then the interface here is going to change from the clock version where you see just numbers. It's going to say DGT Pi. It's going to create the connection that's necessary between your board and your chess computer, and then you'll get into the interface for the computer portion, okay? In addition to the micro USB port, we have a full-size HDMI port right over here that basically allows you to like broadcast your game onto a TV or some kind of other interface. That's really cool if you're into broadcasting the game, whereas we've seen like grandmasters will play and they'll have an immediate broadcast of the game. I think that's really, really cool. We also have the headphone jack here that allows you to connect this chess computer to your e-board. But you will also need to connect with the USB-C cable if you want to use this fully as a computer for your DGT board. What can we expect out of this? Well, mainly, like I said, we can expect that you can take your board that otherwise would not provide you any AI capabilities. As is, you basically connect this DGT Pi Chess computer to it, and without any need to further connect anywhere online or offline, whatever, you can just go ahead and start a game and choose a level of difficulty and start a game against the AI, as we've seen with most of the other boards before. So let's say you don't really want or have the need to connect the DGT board to your computer, like to Fritz, as we've seen before. You can just play against this, play against the AI. And I'm going to tell you something really cool. I was reading the instructions to this. It has a fairly large number of chess engines, and it also takes the time in the instruction manual to talk a little bit more about like the personality and the characteristics, the strengths and the weaknesses of each of the individual chess engines. So it has Stockfish 8, at least before the firmware update. I'm not really sure if you get any upgrades as far as which chess engines get changed or updated or whatever, but Stockfish 8, and you have the option of choosing levels from 0 to 20. Texel 1.07, also from 0 to 10 level. Arasan 2030, ELO starting from 1000 to 2600 plus, so that's great. Rodent 3229, Zurich Chess and Wild Chess with a Y, Galjoen 0371, Sayuri Floyd 09, Lacer 15 Beta, Cinnamon 20, Roboside, Vejolet 2, 24. Okay? Hopefully I didn't butcher those too hard. Okay? Anyways, then if you're reading the manual a little bit further, it actually goes into detail a little bit about like the individual chess engines and like when they were developed, by whom, what are their characteristics, what are their strengths. Some of the chess engines are actually quite recent, like from 2015, while other chess engines have been developed originally like back in 1994 and have been slowly updated. Some of the chess engines are a little bit more wild and unpredictable, while other ones, like for example the Floyd, says creates quite an interesting play, but Floyd cannot be forced to play at a lower level, and Floyd ELO level is 2730. So unless you're 2730 or above, then you probably are going to be losing to Floyd, but at least it says it has a very attractive style of play. Or for example, if you wanted something like Wild Chess says that tactics are very strong in it. So Rodent 3, for example, has can play serious or can have serious or funny personalities, such as positional defender and the crazy attacker. So that's cool. I'm actually really excited about taking my time, if I can find the extra time, taking my time and really testing out each one of the individual like chess engines and see how they differ fundamentally one from the other. That would be really cool to see, like to really go through the analysis, and that is really exciting. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways that you can play the chess part of it. Okay, so one of which might be the straightforward way of playing basically against the AI, against the chess engine. You get to pick your chess engine, you select your difficulty, whatever it might be, and then you start the game. You can also have the option of switching, which is really cool. You can switch. Let's say, for example, midway through the game, you can switch sides and then play for the other side. So let's say you reach some kind of a mid game to where you think that, wow, there's advantages to both sides, you can click to switch, and all of a sudden you'll be playing for the black side, for example, whereas you were playing for the white side before, and you can continue from there. It says in the instructions that that's a great way of really kind of getting a more well-rounded understanding of the game, which I agree. I think that it really kind of makes you think from both perspectives, and so that this DGT Pi Chess Computer allows you to do that. Okay. Additionally, it can play an observer. So if you create an observer, for example, it will not play. And then as an observer, you still connect the board to your DGT Pi Chess Computer, but you may have another person like playing over the board with you. Just the other day, I went to play some games with my friend Larry. I didn't bring the board. We just played on a roll-up board. But had I brought it and had I put this in, what it would do essentially is it would analyze the game, and it would give you its best like predictions or hints for what the next move should be for every opponent after every move, or before every move actually. So there's additional sub features that are close to the observer, like there's a ponder move and stuff that will basically give you some kind of analysis to where it'll give you different types of interpretation of what it believes should be like the next move and everything. So I think that's really cool in a situation where you don't necessarily want to play against the AI, you have somebody that you want to play against, but you can still utilize those features, and given depending on what chess engine you use, it could analyze your game, and it could be helpful, especially if you're playing like a casual game and you really want to talk about the position and talk about all the different advantages and disadvantages, balance and whatnot. I think that's really cool that it provides you with that option. It also can give you the option of setting up your pieces in any position that you want, and then analyzing from there. It's kind of like a scan position. So what it does is basically you put it to that option, and then you set up your pieces, and then once you click that, it'll proceed from there, whether or not you just want to proceed from there to play the game, or you just want to proceed from there in a way that it will just suggest moves for you. That's also really cool. So at any point, like I said, you can create just a positional variation, like a tactical or something position, and then you can plug this in, press the scan, and it'll actually go from there. So that's really, really cool in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of features here just from the fact that this is capable of Bluetooth connecting to your board, to all the different chess engines, to all the different clock options. It's a great package. I think that overall, I wasn't really aware of all the features that are so nicely packed into this. I think that overall, it's definitely worth the price tag. I do realize that $330 is quite a lot, but at the same time, it's really nice to see that that something like this, so well created, exists that can really take your board and take your chess skills to a whole new level. Alrighty, so now that I plugged in the USB-C cord, we're starting the DGT Pi. It does take a little bit of time for it to load up, but I do have this plugged into the wall outlet, and the other cord is plugged into the board. Here we go. USB e-board, so it recognized the board. So if you just let it start the way that it is, you can go ahead and just start with this 30-minute default time, or you can go to the settings and you can see where the mode, normal, position, time, book. These are going to be the different engines. Like if you guys click on the engine, we have Stockfish 8, Texel, all the ones that I've discussed with you guys, so you can pick which one you want. So let's say, for example, we're going to pick Stockfish 8, for example. If you click that, you choose a level. It sets you at level 10, so which is kind of medium. You can do that. And then okay, engine. If you go to system, this is like system information. Sound, this is basically system settings and stuff. Mode, normal. Brain is basically like an analysis mode that's involving qubits, I think, and some other analysis software. We have regular analysis, yeah, qubits, observe, ponder. A lot of these basically modes are like
let's say, for example, we've chosen everything, including the time. The way that it'll work is we go ahead and press play, and we started the clock. And now, in this particular case, the mode is normal, so that means we're playing for white. So okay, and now it'll do c5. So there we go. So then it'll say c5. If you do a move that's alternative to what they want you to do, so for example, d6. So for example, it wants you to do d6, but what if you did this move? So that's e6. It won't work. See, it says set pieces, so you have to go back and then you have to do d6, and only then it'll say okay. So it does recognize that you made the wrong move or whatever, you know. So that way, and I'm not really playing here, but as you can see, it thinks pretty quickly, and like I said, it can provide you with a really good sparring partner for you to really, you know, hone your chess skills, get better with different engines. That's really cool in my opinion. Now, having said that, there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about as far as what I wish would have been done a little bit differently. I think that when I plugged this in initially, and like I said, there's a little port right over here, and it accepts batteries. So in order for you to even be able to use the clock, you have to put batteries in here. And then if you want to use this as a DGT chess computer, you have to plug it into the wall. I kind of wish that you didn't need to have to plug it into the wall, that you could still use it as a chess computer without having to, because if you're going to you know, an environment that might not have the capability of you plugging into the wall, you still want to use it as a chess computer, you're kind of out of luck. Especially like in some tournament settings, you might not even get the opportunity to have a plug close to you. Like if you're maybe in the center of the room somewhere, well, tough luck. So I kind of wish that like I said, you wouldn't need to plug it into the micro USB and just utilize the battery power to go from there, but it is what it is. Secondly, the interface is awesome as far as a clock goes. It's really quite nice. The way that it plays is basically when you start a game and you make a move, it will scan the move that you made, so that's no problem. And then it'll show you the move that it wants you to make. And sometimes, because it doesn't actually, like, it has the clock, the little spaces for all the clock, like, digits and stuff, creating letters where there's only the opportunity to make digits, like numeric digits, means that some of the lettering is kind of weird and awkward looking. Like what it does is it'll think for a second and then it'll say just like knight to b7 or whatever, but it'll say it in notation, but sometimes it's hard. For example, A doesn't look like an A. It just looks like a little tiny thing with like that. That's it. And you just have to kind of make it out. And I'm sure people get used to it and everything, but at least the interface here would have been nice to have lettering that is more like regular screen. In fact, what I would probably like to see better is just like a regular screen, like a regular small LCD screen. The user interface is quite nice here, but we've seen some of like I think the Mephisto or something, the newer computers that are coming with their like separate screen. They look really awesome. I haven't had a chance to own one or review one, but hopefully maybe I'll review one in the future. They're like $2,000 computers. It has a large screen, almost like an iPad type of screen, where it's all the features and everything touch screen. I think touch screen, and it's just a lot easier to understand. Whereas here, like going through all the options and everything with all the buttons, it will take a little bit of time for you to really get to understand all the features and everything. So that would be like one of the things that I'd say it would have been nice if they decided to update this altogether, that they would create a regular like LCD screen, which could give you the option of having the numbers, but also the lettering would look nice and just a little bit more comprehensive. And besides that, really, like I said, if you've had a DGT 3000 chess clock, it would be like you would be right at home with this, because it's the DGT 3000 plus the chess computer, so you would already be familiarized with the first and just kind of get familiarized with the computer part.
But if you're new to this particular chess clock and all its features, then you have to basically double learn. You have to learn how to use the clock, you have to learn how to use the computer, and I feel like there's a little bit of a steep learning curve to really kind of getting to know all the nuances of this particular computer and how it works, okay? And for all that, I feel like if they created a slightly bigger screen, it would have been better. Well, as always, thank you for dropping by. It's always great to see you guys joining me for these videos. If you guys have any comments, please leave them below. And be sure to stay safe, play some chess games, and I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.